Hi guys, it's Michelle. It's August 17th and it's 6:57 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm picking up from where I left off in the last video. Now in the last video I covered August 15th, but I didn't quite finish it, so we're going to finish August 15th and then we're going to proceed on to August 16th. There are no Q posts yet today for August 17th, so once we finish the 16th we will be caught up at that point, which is always a good thing. I always feel good when I'm caught up. So we're going to just pick up exactly where we left off here with this post, and it's from the 15th. And he, she, they give us a link to go out. And so we're going to start off by going out to that link. Well, so slow. Not sure what that's about, but it's very slow. It's walking there. Oh, here it comes. I guess it took a while getting over the ocean, since it's from The Guardian. CIA admits to spying on Senate staffers. CIA director apologizes for improper conduct of agency staff. One senator calls on John Brennan to resign in wake of scandal. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, John Brennan, issued an extraordinary apology to leaders of the U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee on Thursday, conceding that the agency employee spied on committee staff and reversing months of furious and public denials. Brennan acknowledged that an internal investigation has found agency security personnel transgressed a firewall set up on a CIA network, which allowed Senate committee investigators to review agency documents for their landmark inquiry into CIA torture. So apparently that's what the firewall was talking about. Don't know, but according to this article, yes. Among other things, it was revealed that agency officials conducted keyword searches and email searches on committee staff while they used the network. The admission brings Brennan's already rocky tenure at the head of the CIA under renewed question. One senator on the panel said that he lost confidence in the director, although the White House indicated its support for a man who had been one of Barack Obama's most trusted security aides. Well, there you go. If he was one of Barack Obama's most trusted security aides, then I think we know how trustworthy he is, in that he is not trustworthy at all. CIA spokesman Dean Boyd acknowledged that agency staff had improperly monitored the computers of committee staff members who were using a network the agency had set up called RDINet. Some CIA employees acted in a manner inconsistent with the common understanding reached between the committee and the CIA in 2009 regarding access to the RDINet, he said. Asked if Brennan had or would offer his resignation, a different CIA spokesman, Ryan Trapani, replied no. Now, that isn't surprising, is it? In March, the committee chairwoman, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, accused the agency of violating constitutional boundaries by spying on the Senate. Feinstein said after the vindication from CIA Inspector David Buckley and Brennan's apology were positive first steps, suggesting that the director had further work to do before she would consider the matter closed. She stopped short of calling for Brennan's resignation, but her committee colleague, Democrat Mark Udall of Colorado, said Brennan should go. I have no choice but to call for the resignation of CIA Director John Brennan, Udall said after a briefing on the Inspector General's findings. The CIA unconstitutionally spied on Congress by hacking into Senate Intelligence Committee computers. This grave misconduct is not only illegal, but it violates the U.S. Constitution's requirement of separations of powers. These offenses, along with other errors in judgment by some at the CIA, demonstrate a tremendous failure of leadership, and there must be consequences. And here is a tweet by Mark Udall. CIA IG report shows John Brennan misled public whose interests I have championed. I will fight for change at the CIA. CIA admits it broke into Senate computers. Boyd, the CIA spokesman, said Brennan had asked a former committee member, Evan Bayh, a former Indiana Democratic senator, to lead an accountability board reviewing Buckley's report and to advise Brennan on next steps. That advice, Boyd said, could include potential disciplinary measures and/or steps to address systemic issues. Steve Aftergood, of the Federation of American Scientists, a longtime observer of the CIA, called its Thursday statement a conciliatory gesture to the committee's leaders. If Senator Feinstein is satisfied with the apology, then the affair is effectively over. If she contends there was a fundamental breach that cannot be corrected with a mere apology, then some further action might be needed, Aftergood said. McClatchy first reported the apology on Thursday. Feinstein, in her dramatic speech on the Senate floor in March, said the agency breached the firewall to obstruct the committee's investigation of the agency's torture of post-9/11 terrorism detainees, a years-long effort expected to be partially declassified in the coming days or weeks. That investigation was itself prompted by a different cover-up, the destruction of videotapes of brutal interrogations by a senior official, Jose Rodriguez, and of course, Haskell, who is the head of the CIA right now, was serving under Jose Rodriguez at the time. Despite that, the committee has concluded that the torture was an ineffective means of gathering intelligence on Al-Qaeda, contradicting years of CIA assurances it was crucial and that the agency lied to its overseers about its value. Brennan, a confidant of Barack Obama and a senior agency official when the rendition, detention, and interrogation program was established, immediately denied that his officials had spied on their overseers. As far as allegations of, CIA hacking into, Senate computers, nothing could be further from the truth. I mean, we wouldn't do that. I mean, that's just beyond the, the scope of reason in terms of what we do, Brennan said on the day of Feinstein's accusation. Well, of course, what is he going to say? Admit the truth? Come on. If I did something wrong, notice that, if I did something wrong, Brennan continued in March, I will go to the president and I will explain to him exactly what I did and what the findings were, and that is the one who can ask me to stay or to go. White House spokesman Josh Earnest credited Brennan with proactive leadership for appointing the Bay-led board, an indication that Obama is not abandoning the man who, until March 2013, was his most senior counterterrorism aide. According to an unclassified summary of the CIA Inspector General's finding released late on Thursday, 2 agency attorneys and 3 technical staff members improperly accessed or caused access to the firewalled portions of the network that the committee staffers used. None was named. The 3 technicians demonstrated a lack of candor about their activities during interviews. Among other measures, the agency officials conducted a keyword search of all and a review of some of the emails that committed staffers sent over the CIA-established network. Brennan was said not to know of the action, which occurred after he ordered an end to the surreptitious monitoring. Right, I believe it all. The Inspector General additionally found that the CIA claimed that the committee staff improperly assessed certain agency data on the network that was the result of inaccurate information. Well, of course. Now, are we going to read all this? Probably not. Let's see. Brennan's apology also complicates a developing CIA pushback against a report that agency officials, current and former, consider shoddy. George Tenet, the former director whom Brennan served and who oversaw the brutal practices, were suspected terrorists, were subjected to simulated drowning, had guns fired by their heads, were kept in undisclosed prisons for years, and were sent to countries like Gaddafi's Libya and Assad's Syria for even more abusive treatment, is said to be developing a public strategy to attack the committee once the report is released. The agency, consistent with a pattern that has held since 9/11, appears out of danger from criminal liability. Earlier this month, a Justice Department probe, also first reported by McClatchy, declined to pursue an investigation into Feinstein's now vindicated charges. Yep. Alrighty. So Q sent us out there to read that, and then he said, never forget, Black Ops against USA, total takeover of our country. What no agency leaked the data? Well, that would be the NSA. Traitors all, Q. Now, let's go out and see what Reddit has to say about this particular post, just because we can. And here we go. Alrighty. And if my computer was any slower today, it would be backing up, but I don't think it is my computer. I think it is the internet. And for some reason, I have been having trouble with my internet here. It has been spotty in and out today for some reason, probably just because it hates me. All right. So, in regards to this, on the Great Awakening board, we have, a lot of us have known this for a long time. MENA drug running, that's MENA, Arkansas, CIA crack epidemic, MK Ultra, Clinton body count, etc., etc., etc. Clinton got the pedo files that Nixon started Watergate over. He was trying to expose the corruption. Now she's in possession of decades worth of blackmail material of most of DC. That's why I think she was really booted from the investigation. Evidence tampering, and now she has the CFI to trafficking in new kids to get more blackmail. And now she has the CFI trafficking in new kids to get more blackmail. And that could be. We don't know. I do not think Hillary Rodham Clinton got them then, maybe eventually, or others. It does not seem that this is isolated by any means, but she was and has always been ruthless enough to realize this was going on to be her key to success, and she has immediate practice with Whitewater, MENA, you name it, criminal from the very beginning. And someone says, yes, be careful when you are posting theory as fact. I second that. Candidate Trump brought up Hillary being fired from the Watergate investigation as the Al Smith dinner in New York City. At the time, I thought it was odd since there were so many other crimes he could have mentioned. I guess he was just letting her know or speculate. We've got the goods. Everything he says has a meaning, but I didn't know that then. He is so awesome, and I would concur with that, because it is obvious that he was trolling her, and quite hilariously, if you ask me. Possibly, but he was no saint still, though. And I'm not claiming that Trump was a saint, and I think that that's who they're referring to here, and I am not under illusion that Trump is any saint, but I don't think, at least I hope, he is not implicated in any of the sorts of things that are implicated in the things that he is outing. I don't think he's evil in that way. I don't think he's evil per se. I think that he's probably got some unsavory things in his background as well, like probably everybody does to some extent. But I want him as my president and not my priest or pastor. Separation of church and state, always. Nixon raped Fiona Barrett when she was a child. She was part of the MK Ultra and sex trafficking. What if the MK Ultra project worked and they are brainwashing, abusing the children to force their brains into multiple personality states, thus leaving one personality messed up by traumatic events that took place when younger, and leave the other side for everyone else to see in our daily lives? And I know that does sound way out there, but that is exactly what they do, and they have got it down to a science. They can fracture a young child's personality by exposing them to extreme trauma when they're young, and the person fragments because a person is only able to deal with so much trauma, and their mind fractures into different personalities, and these different personalities are programmed to do different things. If you have never seen the Manchurian Candidate, I would urge you all to see it. There is an older one, which I think is the best one, is the older black and white one, personally, but there's a remake as well. They're both good. They're both really good. But if you have not seen The Manchurian Candidate, please do yourself a favor, rent it on whatever. I'm sure it's probably out there for free because it's an old movie. So I would encourage you to do that if you have the time to do that and are so inclined, because it will really educate you about, back then, of course, it was just fiction, but we know this is not fiction, that they really are able to do these things, and they do these things. So, okay, let me see. Let me go down here. Nixon was a dork, all right. How did she end up with them? Just curious, not sure what they're talking about here. From what I understand, she was part of the Watergate Commission until she was fired for ethics violations, talking about Hillary Clinton here. First, she recommended Nixon's lawyers be barred from the hearing, which is ridiculous. Her boss also said she was corrupt and was disclosing information to unauthorized individuals and potentially mishandling evidence. Supposedly, though, her work on the committee, interviewing witnesses and such, she got her hands on the golden files. You have to admit, the Clinton rise was pretty meteoric after that point. Her boss, Jerry Zeifman, died 2010, 2 years after publishing his initial notes, which could have cost her the 2008 election. But he was pretty old, and it was a while later, so not typically added to the Clinton kill count. I think that we may never know what the true Clinton kill count is, but I hope at some point we will get close, and she will be prosecuted for each and every one of them. Nixon connected to the Bush crime family. He was Prescott's puppet until Curious Georgie was vice president. Curious Georgie was director of the Clowns in Action, and he was George Herbert Walker Bush and not George W. Bush. He was director of the CIA, and there is a lot of speculation that he was involved, and I happen to believe he was involved in the assassination of JFK. Funny you should mention that. Was in the Arkansas News today, 35 years, and the mother still can't get investigative records released. I don't know what that's talking about, but anyway, let's move on from here, because each and every one of these posts, I'm telling you, we could go into in massive depth. We could probably spend an hour on each post, but I don't think any of us have time for that. So I'm going to get us as much up to speed as I can with the knowledge that I have. And of course, hopefully that gets rounded out with info that you guys have and put in the comments below. And it takes us all. It really does. So let's go up to this, which is an interesting post if you ask me. All right, so here Q is mentioning, is referring to this post by an anon of this picture with the NBC logo colors, NBC, and then underneath NBC stands for nothing but crap. Well, I concur with that. And here, of course, is the NBC News logo with the peacock in negative space here. And underneath, NBC, nothing but crap. Now, this was posted by an anon, and Q responds to this and says, Jeff Zucker, and that, of course, is of CNN, said that Fox News is pure propaganda. NBC, CNN, and then it says heart surgery. Now, Jeff Zucker was off for 6 weeks for heart surgery as of July 19th, I found. And here it says 10-year issue. Now, in this news article, I don't think I'm going to go out to it, because I think the important part of it is not that we know every nitty-gritty thing, but that Jeff Zucker was off for 6 weeks for heart surgery as of July 19th of this year, 2018, and he claims it was a 10-year issue. So Q is saying heart surgery, 10-year issue, Fox News, pure propaganda, in the line of fire, Q. And what Q is saying here is that Fox News right now is in the line of fire. Now, why do you think that is? Well, traditionally, Fox has been rather in agreement with Trump on most things. I mean, you don't see the types of attack against Trump that you see from the other news networks. So I think that it is not, if not overtly pro-Trump, it most certainly is covertly pro-Trump. I would say that's my thinking, and I think personally the way I read this is that now Fox is in the line of fire because of its stance. And I think Q is questioning this whole heart surgery thing. I'm not sure, but that's the impression that I get, is that Q is questioning this. Heart surgery? 10-year issue? Don't know. So let's continue. Because we can. Now we're getting into some really strange things. And of course, when I say something is strange, that it's got to be really strange because, well, we're just, swimming through a sea of strangeness here with all this Q stuff. Not that Q is strange, not that anything he brings up is strange. It's just that really, a year ago, yes, a lot of us knew some of this was happening, but certainly not to the extent that we do now. I think our eyes have been opened even further by Q. Now, I would say that I had been red-pilled a lot longer than a year, much, much longer, but this has certainly rounded out my knowledge and let me know how deep the rabbit hole goes. And I don't even think that we're halfway down the rabbit hole yet, personally. That's just how I feel, because it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And incrementally, I mean, how could Q have ever dropped all this information? It had to come incrementally, because you had to have a base of one thing before you could build on something else and then build on something else. Because if all this had been dropped at once, we would have been like, what? There's no way we could have figured our way through it all. There isn't. I mean, it's brilliant how this has been done, to tell you the truth, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, here Q is making reference to his own post here about Jeff Zucker, NBC, CNN, heart surgery, 10-year issue, blah, blah, blah. Then beneath, we have a very odd picture of Gloria Vanderbilt. And this is Anderson Cooper, her son. And her other son, I think his name is Carter Vanderbilt. So, or Cooper, I guess. Now, Q is pointing to this picture here and saying, normal? Q. Well, no, it's not normal. And I'll tell you why. Is it normal to have a mother read to her two sons? Absolutely. I would hope that happens. I know that my mother was an English teacher for all her life, and she read to my brother and I. She read to me separately, my brother separately. We were read to all the time, and we were expected to read. That was something that was expected of us. We were expected to spend at least part of our time, our recreational time, reading. And so that is not abnormal at all. What is abnormal is this, because they are in the boys' room here, I would imagine, and they've got, it's interesting, the quilt that's on their bed, I have that exact same quilt my grandmother made me, although it's in tatters now, and it's actually got a few different colors in it, but it's called, we always called it the little girl quilt, and it was a very well-known pattern of quilt back then, so that's not all that strange, but it is strange that it's a little girl's quilt on a boy's bed. But hey, what am I, what do I know? And we've got this picture, which is the goddess that goes by many different names. Astana, what is all the names that she goes by? the Queen of Heaven, oh gosh, Diana was another name that she went by, the goddess Diana. Anyway, and there is a human here being sacrificed and two angels attending. So is that normal? No, that's not at all normal. So let's go down here. Let's look at a bigger picture of this. I think that's what this is anyway, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's a separate picture. And here is another picture that I find odd. There are two boys dressed in red. She is in white, and her face looks ultra, ultra white, almost as if she has a mask on her face, some sort of beauty mask or something, but it's a very odd picture. And then, of course, we have the bright red here that, I believe is symbolic of some sort. And I know you can say, come on, not everything is symbolic. Well, in their world, yes, actually it is. So I do believe that this means something. You've got the red and white flowers, red and white here, and this is a bizarre room. I don't know if this is the boys' room or not, but don't know. Anyway, let's go back. Anderson Cooper with his mom Gloria and his late brother. So many drops. Seems like a lot of pointing at the Biltmore Vanderbilt property, and that the paintings Podesta had are based on the pool in the mansion. Anderson is one of their media heads, main face on CNN, yet has no formal journalism education or training. He majored in political science, spent 2 years interning at the CIA. Now, this is interesting as well. So let's go out here. I was not aware of this, and it's very sad and very tragic. Taking a closer look at the suicide of Carter Cooper. Now, this is Anderson Cooper's brother. Died when he, I believe, was 23. On the morning of July 22nd, 1988, 23-year-old Carter Cooper, oldest son of Gloria Vanderbilt and Wyatt Cooper, brother of Anderson Cooper, arrived unexpected at his mother's 14th floor apartment in New York City. He had recently broken up with the girl he loved. He told his mother he was moving back home. Mrs. Vanderbilt suggested he take the larger vacant bedroom, the one his brother used to have. It had a fireplace and a sliding glass door to the terrace. Having not slept for several nights after dinner, Carter retired to the sofa in his room for a nap. He opened the sliding glass door. In spite of the terrific heat, he vetoed his mother's suggestion for air conditioning, even asking her for a quilt for his nap. Before she left, he asked her, "Mom, am I blinking?" Page 96 of his mother's book, cited at bottom of page. He was. He definitely slept during his nap because Mrs. Vanderbilt checked on him several times during his nap and found him sleeping. They were planning to see a rented movie together after his nap. About 7 p.m., Carter, awake, entered his mother's room looking dazed and asked several times, "What's going on?" After a short conversation in which Mrs. Vanderbilt's attempt to soothe and orient her son, Carter took off running up the stairs to his bedroom. His mother arrived swiftly behind him. She found him sitting on the low wall of the terrace, one foot on the floor and the other on the wall. Another short conversation ensued, attempts on the part of his mother to get him away from the wall. He stopped her concerned approach with arm held in a military gesture for stop. He wondered, will I ever feel again? He stood with a terrible rigid tenseness, staring past her, past the river, as if he didn't see them. Mrs. Vanderbilt suggested calling his new therapist, but couldn't remember the number. Carter shouted out the number, then said, "Fuck you." Pardon my expression. He stared down as if mesmerized by the scene 14 stories below. A helicopter passed overhead. Carter looked up, then back at his mother. He reached his hand out longingly to her, then moved deftly as an athlete over the wall, holding on to the edge as if it were a practice bar gym, holding firmly and confidently, then he let go. Page 104 to 105. Carter Cooper was not into alcohol or drugs. His autopsy confirmed none were in his system. He did, however, have a newly prescribed inhaler for his asthma. He was also seeing a therapist, but even his therapist was surprised by his suicide. 8 years later, Gloria Vanderbilt wrote a mother's story about the horrendous experience. Her belief was that Carter's suicide was the result of a psychosis induced by that new prescription inhaler. A mother's story contains a number of details, some not that alarming by themselves, that prick one's attention, suggesting that something is not right with Carter. He had recently broken up with a girlfriend he loved. He had not slept for several nights. He was cold, even in the blazing heat of the summer day. He questioned a quilt for his nap. He requested a quilt for his nap. His questions asked several times. Mom, am I blinking? He was very thirsty. His eyes were glazed over when he entered his mother's room after his nap. His question asked several times, what is going on, when nothing in particular was going on. His question on the terrace uttered several times, will I ever feel again? His rigid tenseness and mesmerization with the scene below. Carter has had allergy since he was a child. He even hated anesthetics because they made him unconscious. He didn't want to miss a moment of life. In her search for answers to her son's behavior, Mrs. Vanderbilt looked into the then-known properties of the drug, theophylline, used in Carter's new inhaler. A paper in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology attributed the following reactions to theophylline: agitation, insomnia, terrifying nightmares, acute paradox, depressive states. There were more, but we've had enough. So, I don't know. Eric Harris, though, also a mass murder. Also, okay. They're comparing it to other people here. I don't know. I think there's something odd there, personally. I really do. And the reason I say that is because he is from an Illuminati family. And also, there's that whole twinning thing with the MK Ultra thing. You can look that up. I'm not going to get into that right now because it would take a long time to explain. But it's very well known that they killed one of the twins. I don't understand the whole thing. And to tell you the truth, I'd have to look into it further. But I've run across it several times, too many times, to question that it's a real thing. It is a real thing. So, here we have this, and no, this is not normal. And Q is making reference to this post by an anon, and who says, no, that is nowhere near normal. The picture above her is evil. And Q says, symbolism will be their downfall. Focus on her necklace. Bottom charm has significant meaning. Find the match. Red shoes. Q. Now, let me just look at this picture again, because I don't think that they have red shoes in that picture, but we will see what they are alluding to. And there is very significant meaning to red shoes. Now, this is the symbol that he is alluding to, Q, and there is Carter's hand, and right below it is the charm, and this, it would be Cooper, Anderson Cooper's head right here. And so this anon, Q, is making reference to this anon who actually blew the picture up here, and he's acknowledging, yes, that's the one below his hand. Q. So we know we've got that one. And Q says here, referring to his own post, below hand. Q. Find the matches. Open source. They never thought they'd be hunted. Q. Now, we're going to come up here. And again, Q is making reference to this picture, to this. But beneath this picture, this anon says, all right, anons, we need to find all matches for this charm. And then Q says, compare pool of Vanderbilt with painting of kids in pool, red shoes. Q. Now we know what he's talking about. anybody new to this would not know, but we know because this has been discussed before. The Podesta paintings of the kids in a pool with red shoes. We're going to come up here and we're going to take a look at that as well. So let's keep going for now. And here is Q making reference to his own post here. Compare pool of Vanderbilt with painting of kids in pool, red shoes, Q. And then this anon says Podesta art, and that is correct. Q is referring to these two posts, and he's saying cross against Podesta, travel to Rome. Review 2015-2016 pics, inside only, Q. All right. Now we're going to see what all this is talking about. And this anon posts this picture right here. Now, what is this picture? And Q is making reference to it. Q is making reference to this anon's picture here. So he is, saying that, and this anon is saying this. Is this what you're talking about, Q? Is this what you want us to be looking for? And Q acknowledges and says it's one of two. Q. Okay, so what is this? Well, looks to be a pool, right? Now, believe it or not, I have been there. I have actually been here. And where that is it is the Vanderbilt house, and it is located in Asheville. The house is called Biltmore, and it was apparently owned by the Vanderbilts, and you can tour it. I mean, I don't know how much well, gosh, that was years and years and years ago. I think it was like $30-some to tour back then. So I don't know how much it is now, but it's not cheap to tour. But I did tour it. I have actually toured it several times because I used to live in North Carolina. And when people visited me, it's one place that I used to take them because it was just a very interesting place. Now at Christmas time, they had it all done up with Christmas trees and just absolutely stunningly gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. They have grounds with gardens and so forth that you can go through as well. Anyway, if you go down to the lower floors, there is the place where the servants stayed. There is a bowling alley, and there is this pool on the very lower floors. So that's where this is taken from. Now, of course, there's no water in this pool, and it makes me wonder, is this a pool at all? Now, I'll tell you one thing, and I remember this well. I don't know why I remember it, but I remember I did not like being down there at all. I wanted to be back up because the upper floors were very beautiful in a haunting sort of way. They were hauntingly beautiful. They were old. I mean, because this building is very, very old. I think it was one of the first, they had like some of the first flush toilets, if I'm not mistaken. It's a huge building. You can go out and look for Biltmore Estate in Asheville, North Carolina, and you can see for yourself. Or if you're in the area, you can go and tour it, which is actually very, very interesting. And I would suggest doing it if you can. But I didn't like this area at all down here for some reason. And now that I'm thinking about it, this doesn't seem like a pool at all, because if you fill it up with water, there's no place to drain it. Where does it drain to? So how would you drain the water out? How would you fill it up? I don't know. So I don't know. It's apparently a pool. But it does match very closely to pictures of John Podesta's art, and we're going to see that in a moment. Now, here it says confirmed. What do you notice? Q. And then he says, compare and contrast. 1 = 1. Location of painting confirmed. Travel to Rome. Charms are very important. Q. So let me see here. This is the pool, and I know for an absolute fact that that is in the Biltmore Estate home in Asheville, North Carolina, which is now not lived in, but it is, you are able to tour it. And This is John Podesta's art. And of course, we've seen this before. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you guys. We've seen this before, these pictures. And they're pictures of little girls. Here there's drains in the floor here, which is interesting. And, you know, this one's got their head down. They all look... They don't look happy. They've all got their hands behind their back in a very unnatural way. They've all got their little undies on and little, what look to be little undershirts on, bare feet. And to me, their bottoms look red, as if they'd been spanked or whatever. It could be, I don't know, it could be just the way it's painted. But these children all look concerned. When would you ever have children lined up in that manner, in a natural way? Never. Never. You would never ask children to kneel in the bottom of a dry pool with their hands behind their back in their undies and undershirts like that. It wouldn't happen. So you've got that one, and then you've got this one of a young boy, very skeletal here, and he's being tied. And he looks like, it looks like a situation like this, where he's being tied with these ropes and he's hanging, and his shoes are down below, and, you know, he's just got his underwear on, and believe me, he doesn't look like he's real comfortable there or having a good time. So Biltmore House, Gloria Vanderbilt's son is Anderson Cooper. Can anyone ID this pool? Now, some people would like to suggest that this pool is this and this pool is this. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe it for a minute, because first of all, there are no tile, there's no pattern of tiles in this pool. There are no grates in this pool. The only thing that is the same, similar, is that it's like a pool that doesn't look like it was used for a pool, really, and all these ropes hanging, which is unusual. I've never seen that in a pool. But, so odd. So let's go on here. Now, this... Q is posting this from an anon who has posted this picture, and he says, this one, and Q acknowledges, yes, this is the one he's talking about. Now notice, these girls are sitting on a bench. They've all got red shoes on. Let me make this bigger for you guys on your teeny weeny phones. Okay, and sorry, that doesn't make it much better, just makes it blurrier. But these children look to me to be afraid. They've all got the little red lips, as if they've had lipstick put on them, because children's lips are not naturally that red. They have looks of horror on their face. All of them have a surprised or terrified look. Look at this girl's hands. She is gripping underneath so hard that her hands have turned red. This one is got her hands cupped in front of her genitals as if to hide her genitals. This one is also gripping and has a look of horror. And this one as well has the red hands, but they've all got the same red shoes. They've all got the same white underwear and undershirt on. So it's obvious that they're in the same sort of pool environment, but why would anyone think this was art? These children look terrified. I would not want to have a picture of terrified children anywhere close to me or in any vicinity to me. I mean, it just does not look, there's something very unnatural and disturbing about this picture. And the red shoes, why are they all wearing the red shoes? So I'm going to come out here I'm going to go to this, hang on, because it'll maybe fill us in a little bit on the whole red shoe deal. Now, this literally could take a whole video to just, the red shoe. The whole red shoe thing could take a whole video, but I do want to just show you a few things maybe to fill in our thoughts on the red shoe, to kind of, fatten out our knowledge of it. if my here it is, sorry. Okay, and okay, this is talking about, so glad we got to see both of you after quite a while. It was great to be with Tony so close to his 72nd. Attached are pictures that capture some of the spirit of the evening at a couple of different levels. Warm regards and hope we see you again soon. Now that's interesting. It captures the spirit, and it's Casa Podesta Pizza Party. That is the subject of this email from WikiLeaks. And it says, attached are pictures that capture some of the spirit of the evening at a couple different levels. What does that mean? Well, let's go look. And let's see. Well, here we have them all together. And what do we notice about this picture? Well, Tony Podesta and everybody's got these red shoes on. They all look the same. They look exactly the same. It's not that they're wearing just red shoes. They're all wearing the same kind of red shoes. Looks like they were made perhaps by the same manufacturer. And it's interesting. Look at the shoes on the second picture from an email sent to Tony Podesta from Ashok Mahbubani. A man shows off his red shoes in front of the Pope. Is it him? Smiling. The mail says, attached are pictures that capture some of the spirit of the evening at a couple different levels. Like for Podesta's 65th birthday. Wow, everybody has red shoes. Why red shoes? Because of the Wizard of Oz. In Wizard of Oz, Judy Garland goes over the rainbow, boom, pedophile symbol, thanks to her red shoes, and nothing will ever be the same. Now, I'm not sure that I believe that per se. I think that there's far more to the whole red shoes thing, and it has to do with blood of the innocent. It has to do with, if you listen to a lot of testimony from former Satanists or from children that have been involved in satanic occults and have been abused, you will hear a lot of the same testimony, that they wear shoes that are red and they're made out of human skin, baby skin. Now, I know this is disgusting and I know that it's way out there. I'm just repeating to you what I've seen and been reading for years. I've had a hard time believing it, but the more I believe it, the more I see it from different people, the more I'm believing it, that there is something to this. It has something to do with the blood of the innocent on their feet. They're literally clothed with the blood of the innocent. So that is what the whole red shoe deal is. I believe in that video by, gosh, I can't remember the two children, but they were in the UK somewhere, and they were testifying, and they were talking about a man that had a shop that made shoes out of human skin. It happens. All right, so let's go back here. Well, actually, let's go back here again. Just 1 second, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be, there are other, okay, not sure, look further. Tony has exact same shoes. Okay, hang on here. Okay, these are the ruby slippers. I don't really believe personally that this is connected to. Now, we do know that they do use the Wizard of Oz for programming. They do. There's no question about that. In MK Ultra and so forth, they do use that. But I'm not exactly sure that we can link these red shoes to the, they're beautiful shoes though. Gosh, they're beautiful. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a woman. I can't help it. And Let's see. More of the red shoes with Tony Podesta. This is the art, what they call art. I don't think that there's anything artistic about that. Perhaps because it's creepy. It's creepy. And I don't know why anybody would want these pictures of children in their underwear hanging up in their home. And to me, their bottoms are very red. In a lot of these pictures, some of their bottoms are really red, as if they have been abused anally. I'm just seeing what, and this person looks very suspiciously over her her shoulder to see what's going on. It's very sad. These are very sad pictures to me. So let's go back and let's go on. Now, this Anon posts this picture of a charm that is similar to the one that Gloria Vanderbilt had on. I personally don't think it is the same charm, but this is on Pinterest, and let me see here. Q is making reference to it, so it must be similar, I would assume. And it says, a description, Guatemalan silver chain charm necklace, 1980, long wedding necklace with Milagros, metal beads, cowgirl, Southwest, First Peoples, 30-inch, plus large coin with charms pendant. The pendant is 5 inches long, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that we need to get into all that. I was attending the Intertribal Indian Festival. I was told that this was a Guatemalan wedding necklace. It was a personal piece, but I have become allergic to all the metal, so it is now up for grabs, maybe worn 2 times. Milagros are small metal religious charms found in many areas of Latin America, especially Guatemala and Mexico. The word milagro means miracle or offering. These small charms, often depicting arms, legs, praying people, farm animals, and a wide range of other subjects, are typically nailed or pinned to crosses or wooden statues of various saints like the Virgin Mary or Christ, sacred objects pinned on the clothing of saint statues or hung with little red ribbons or threads from altars and shrines. They are also carried for protection and good luck thanks to saints and their animals. The 1848 Repro coin pendant is of Jose Rafael Carrera Tuquios, was the president of Guatemala from 1844 to 1848 and from 1851 until his death in 1865 after being appointed president for life in 1854. Now, Q is acknowledging this. So this must be what that necklace is or similar to, and that these little charms mean miracle or offering, and they're depicting arms, legs, praying people, farm animals, and they're pinned to crosses or wooden statues or what have you. So that is that. Now, this is interesting. Q asks, and this is on August 16. So actually, I think, well, maybe I will go on from here and keep going here. Maybe I can get through August 16th in this video. Anyone have problems with their Xbox Live account shortly after the drop yesterday? Purge. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? Q. Now, what is he talking about? Well, we're going to find out. Now, Q here is saying Xbox, he's putting this screenshot from an Anon, and it says Xbox Live is down. So how will teens yell at me now? And it's just a little thing. Xbox Live isn't working for everyone at the moment. Microsoft has confirmed the issue on its Xbox Live status site, and players are complaining about the outage on social media. This is preventing people from signing into Xbox Live, which causes issues loading just about any digital purchase on the platform. So what's going on? Now, remember When Q yesterday mentioned, well, in the last posts here, he mentioned about the Xbox Live forums, that they were communicating. They had these communications, and then all of a sudden Xbox goes down. Well, how strange is that? It is strange. It's strange indeed. Let's look at this. Now, this is not from Q. I found this out there somewhere, and I wish I could give kudos where kudos are due, but I can't remember where I found it. I'm sorry, probably on Twitter somewhere. But Xbox Live, here we have the outage, when the outage happened, and notice this by Q, 8:15. Text, emails, Gmails, draft, Gmails, ham communications, PS, Xbox chat logs. And it says just after Q posts, Xbox goes down. Do you believe in coincidence? Well, I have heard Q say over and over again, there are no coincidences. So let's assume that there is no coincidence with this either, and that somehow Q mentioning the PS Xbox chat logs, well, that caused Xbox to go down, possibly to see if they could purge their system somehow. I don't know. Report dynamics, and it shows the exact time of the outage. So, and here's the outage. Mission, United States, Clearwater, Roanoke, Bell, United States, Claymont, Forest, United States, all these places with the red, I would assume, are the outages or the reports of outages. Look, all over. I mean, that's quite extensive. And then Q on the 16th, being, he likes to troll a little. Come on, he does. He says, anyone have problems with their Xbox Live accounts shortly after the drop yesterday? Purge. How many coincidences before mathematically impossible? Q. So he's telling us what happened. They were purging. Yep, that's what they were doing. But is it any, is there any sense in purging? Nope. No sense at all, because they have it all. He keeps saying over and over again, we've got it all. We have it all. And all, if you look up the meaning of the word all, it means all. Yeah. Just helping you out there. All right. So Q makes reference to what this Anon posted here, the outage map for the PS and the Xbox. And then this, the outage report, and this was between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. Woohoo! There we had like a huge surge in reports of outage, and they had 137 reports in the last 20 minutes back then. So, yeah. And, then down here, Q says, nothing to see here. Drops equate to reaction, action. And of course, that's not really a question. He's telling us drops equate to reaction, action. Q, nothing to see here. Move along. Nothing new. We've seen this before 1,000 times. Move along. Nothing to see. That's what he's saying. But he did want to point it out to us because, of course, we know where it came from. Now, up here, we've got this. Ask yourself simple questions. Okay, Q, I will ask myself simple questions. How simple do you want the questions to be? Oh, okay, you're going to tell us. If Edward Snowden, and this is Edward Snowden, it is not Eric Schmidt, and we know that for a fact. He is talking about Edward Snowden. If Edward Snowden was trying to travel to UIO, which is actually Ecuador, from Hong Kong? If Eric Snowden was trying to travel to Ecuador from Hong Kong, why would he route through Russia? Well, let me answer that, Q. He wouldn't. He wouldn't. He was not trying to travel to Ecuador. It makes no sense that he was trying to travel to Ecuador. Who in their right mind would travel to Ecuador from Hong Kong? Who? No one. That's who. No one. How many direct flights per day from Hong Kong to Ecuador? None. There are none. There are no direct flights from Hong Kong to Ecuador. Q, there are none. So really, only an idiot would try to travel to Ecuador from Hong Kong. And Edward Snowden was not an idiot, so I'll answer the question. He was not trying to go to Ecuador. He wouldn't go to Ecuador through Russia. He wouldn't. How many direct flights per day from Hong Kong to Ecuador? None. What if Russia was the original target? It was! Gosh darn it, Q, you know it. You're just baiting us. It was the original target. It was. You don't ask questions for no reason. You ask questions as if they are direct statements. You're telling us Russia was the original target. Eric Snowden was not trying to travel to Ecuador from Hong Kong. Okay? So, what if Russia was the original target? It was. Ask yourself, would you not want to be at your preferred destination prior to going public? Yes. Yes, I would, because I would know that once I went public, my passport would be revoked. I mean, even I would know that. You know, I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed. I mean, I'm sometimes don't have both oars in the water, but I know that. So I'm assuming that Edward Snowden would know that as well. Logical thinking, says Q. Yes, indeed. Logical thinking. Q. Now, this is interesting. Eric Snowden used the pseudonym The True Hoo-Ha online in forums. That means forums, not forums. Forums. He worked for Dell and CIA before working for Booz Allen Hamilton, NSA contractor. He flew to Hong Kong on May 20th, 2013. Dropped the info to journalists June 21st, 2013. U.S. Department of Justice unsealed charges and Department of State revoked his passport. 2 days later, he flew to Moscow. However, it was noted his passport was canceled and he was restricted to the airport terminal for over a month. Russia granted him right of asylum for 1 year and repeated it until 2020. His grandfather was a rear admiral in U.S. Coast Guard who became a senior official with the FBI and was at the Pentagon in 2001 during 9/11 attacks. His father was also an officer in the Coast Guard. His sister, a lawyer for Federal Judicial Center in D.C. Eric Schmidt hated CIA Director Leon Panetta, enlisted in Army May 7, 2004, became Special Forces candidate through 18 times enlistment options, didn't complete, broke both legs in training, discharged September 28, 2004, 2005, security guard at University of Maryland Center for Advanced Study of Language, sponsored by NSA, required security clearance. 2006, he was in Langley, Virginia for CIA, went to secret school for technology. March 2007, CIA stationed him in Geneva, Switzerland with diplomatic cover. He had a diplomatic passport. After him blowing whistle on CIA for getting a banker drunk and getting him to drive home to be arrested, a CIA operative offered to help the banker in exchange for becoming an informed I don't know what that says. President of Swiss Confederation disputed 2013. He said the CIA successfully bribed the Geneva police. February 2009, Edward Snowden resigned from CIA 2009 in Tokyo for Dell, working on NSA computers. March 15th, 2013 was his breaking point in seeing DNI James Clapper directly lie to Congress under oath. Now, this came from the Great Awakening Board from a poster called Angela Butcher. And so that is where I got that information. And below here, we've got another Reddit user, Think Mirror. For what it's worth, in 2013, Snowden said he went to Hong Kong because he felt it was his safest bet, given its protection by China, coupled with its semi-autonomous status and its history of free press. To answer Q's question, I cannot find any direct flight from Hong Kong to Quito. I have always had to go through Western controlled airport. I can get from Hong Kong to Moscow, but I still can't get to Quito without connecting through Western controlled airport. So there you go. That is the point about Edward Snowden. He wasn't trying to travel to Ecuador. He was going to Russia. Now, here, let's see here. Okay, now, again, Q is making reference to this. Anyone have problems with their Xbox Live account shortly after drop yesterday? Purge, how many coincidences before mathematically impossible? And then beneath, he puts this post of his, Q's, back from April 26, and it says, we have it all. The good people have the information. Good people are acting on the information. Think Google. Think Eric Schmidt departure. Think North Korea. Many drafts. Many shared users. Foreign and domestic. Variable access. Codes. Fake emails. Game forum communications. New intel revealed today. Gmail communications are, e.g., define evergreen. When do you call a plumber? Well, you call a plumber when you have a leak, right? Ongoing investigations required. Q. And then it says authorization. And beneath that, we have this, again, from Q, from the 15th, yesterday. Well, it was yesterday when this was written. It was August 15th. Today is the 17th. Text, emails, Gmail, drafts, Gmail, ham communications, PX, Xbox, chat logs, James Clapper, Barack Obama, CS. I know this. I hate when my brain does that. Chuck Schumer, Loretta Lynch, Andrew McCabe, Nellie Orr, and Sally Yates. Bonus round, Q. And he says, nothing to see here, Q. And Q wanted to see who was running to delete chat logs after he posted 1891. And this is the post right here. After he posted that, they were running to delete chat logs from PS Xbox. Yes, they were. Now, let's go up to here, and I want to see how much we have left here. I think I need to cut this off here. Yeah, I'm going to cut this off here, and I'm going to pick up from where we leave off here. I know that makes a lot of videos today, but I do want to make sure that I cover it all, and I don't want to wear people out because I know it does. So I'm going to cut it off here, and I'm going to continue on with the post from the 16th, and I'm going to get us caught up tonight. Gosh darn it, I am. So at this point, let's call it quits for this video at least. And let's see, where are we? We are right here. So I will make a note to myself that we stopped here and to start here in the next video. And it will give some of you guys a chance to take a rest or go get a snack, make yourself a sandwich, have a glass of milk, dunk some Oreos in it. I'm making myself hungry. I better go now. I hope you have a good night. I'll see you back in a little bit. Stay safe.